Friendo, Steve here.
Hey, Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to right here at youtube.com/Steve and Larson. Available wherever podcasts can be found. And of course, tape live to Twitch. Twitch.tv/Steve and Larson. Which, by the way, we had a really awesome impromptu Twitch stream this past weekend because the Enforcer was in town for the Going In Raw Stakes, our own sponsored horse race down at the California State Fair and Food Festival. We went to that too. It was wildly fun. It was awesome. Lost a bunch of money on the ponies.
But that's all right, because
we
can't put a price on a good time.
Because the Enforcer was there. It was a blast. It was a lot of fun. Hey, when did we get the picture of us with the horse?
I don't know.
Okay, cool.
I expect to get email at some point.
Okay. Because I got to Photoshop all those other people out and then select subject and put us in front of the horse.
Or just have a bunch of us.
Yeah, we could do that. We'll talk about it. We'll discuss the creative direction for a picture of us with winning horse.
Yes.
So anyways, it was a lot of fun though. If you guys want, we were just doing like an LA Fights watch along. LA Fights is still on YouTube. You can watch it there. You could watch us watch along. I don't know. It's fun. It was impromptu. We were just goofing around. And I've got some vloggy stuff about the Going In Raw Stakes that I'll put up sometime this week. So check that out. Larson's hitting the road on Friday. So our schedule's going to be a little bit different this week. Any changes? Like, I know Enforcer and I are going to be doing a Death Before Dishonor watch along over at the MF Steve Here Twitch stream on whatever day it's on. Saturday. I think. Saturday's cool. So that's going to be happening. But no GTA on Friday. And then I don't know, what's the situation? We're gonna do a count out instead of a Friday show. What are we gonna do?
We'll talk about it after we're done. We'll finalize all that. But yeah, that's probably what's gonna happen.
All right, cool, right on. I mean, everything's pretty much normal for the majority of the week, and then towards the end of the week it's a little weird. But whatever. Just make sure you keep your notification on the Twitch, on the YouTube. Make sure you hit that sub button and the little notify bell, and you'll always get your Going In Raw content. You'll always be notified when it is. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about AEW's Rampage on the road to Ring of Honor, Death Before Dishonor. We're going to be talking about the G1. We've got the first batch of results in from that. We're going to be talking about WWE Smackdown on the road to Clash at the Castle. No, I'm sorry. What am I thinking? On the road to SummerSlam.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like
it's kind of both a little bit, because there was some Clash at the Castle stuff going on. They did the same thing with Drew and Sheamus that they did last week, where Sheamus ducks a fight. And we've got some info on Goldberg, on CM Punk. But first, we're going to talk about the one of the bigger news stories of the last month or so, and that's this big investigation into Vince McMahon and his improprieties, I guess would be the word. Larson, what's the latest on this?
So this comes to us from PW Insider's Mike Johnson during a recent Q&A. He was asked if there be any more Vince McMahon allegations forthcoming, to which Johnson responded, quote, "If you mean, will there be more of the investigation? We know it's not over because company management stated to employees they would make themselves available for questions once the investigation was over, and that hasn't happened. We also know a number of legal firms are investigating the situation themselves from the perspective that all of this hurt the WWE stockholders. Until they decide they are filing class action suits or not, those are still ongoing. Finally," Mike Johnson says, "I know that the Wall Street Journal is still pursuing additional stories, and I know they were trying to reach out to former WWE performers as of 48 hours ago. So short answer, yeah, it looks like there is more to come."
This isn't terribly shocking, but it's interesting to hear some of the details. I mean, you got to figure, man, the thing that was most sort of, I don't know, eye-opening to me, I guess, with that first one was that it's very recent. It wasn't like the NDA signed like early this year or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was dating back to like things going on in 2019. And if that's been the case, you know, there's decades of possibilities here and NDAs that have possibly been signed. And then when they dug up the 3 or 4 additional ones with the latest Wall Street Journal report, you got to figure that maybe sometimes when things like this are reported, it prompts people to come forward who might have been too scared, who might have been freaked out because they had signed an NDA. Maybe they think, oh, I'm going to go down because of this. Maybe it'll open those people up to, hey, I got a whopper for you. And I'm not saying that has happened. Just wouldn't surprise me if that was the case. If that wasn't the case, that more people came forward, because I think that does happen.
Yeah, that seems to be the case when investigations such as these start happening. And the story kind of unfolds, and people who might have something to add, will generally be more inclined to speak up than they might have otherwise. So yeah, I would actually be fairly surprised if we didn't hear more either additional allegations or some, maybe somebody who has some knowledge. Because obviously with the NDA, I don't think, unless they're compelled to speak due to a court order, I don't think, legally they can. I don't know the ins and outs of NDAs in particular, whether there is some wiggle room for, in the case of civil lawsuits or whatever, or investigations such as these, whether they be allowed to speak up. I don't know if the board, during the course of their investigation, could potentially question people.
Well, I wonder,
you
got to think,
I don't know.
if they find these, if I'm, again, neither of us are legal experts,
No.
It stands to reason that these NDAs could potentially be rendered invalid by the board if they're investigating this stuff. And Vince had these signed under WWE's umbrella or whatever, it feels like these probably can be invalidated at a certain point. But yeah, I mean, we're just going to have to wait and see, because there's no way to tell what's going to be happening. But I could totally understand if somebody signed it, got a bunch of money, they might be like, hey, I signed this deal and I don't want to get sued. I don't want to get dragged into this. I could understand that, but I could also understand, hey, maybe they signed this under some amount of duress, or, hey, this is the best. It kind of relates to the Ric Flair thing, where, his accuser signed an NDA, got a bunch of money, and then she still came forward because it's like, hey, all I had was the settlement. There was no other recourse for me. So you take what you can get, and nothing really changes. Well, that's the culture that I think is people are trying to change at this point, where these NDAs, are just sort of protecting people in power. And I think that's sort of the core issue of this Vince McMahon thing. The dude's in power, and he can sort of do whatever he wants, as long as, hey, you can get him to sign an NDA, give him a bunch of money, and then he can keep on doing whatever he wants to do, like it's his playground. So, anyways, let's go ahead and move on to wrestling news. CM Punk. We haven't heard
CM Punk.
We haven't heard a lot about CM Punk since he announced on the June 3rd edition of Rampage that he required surgery on his injured foot. On a recent Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer provided the first update on his condition and when he might make his return. These transcripts come to us via our good friendos over at Cultaholic. Dave said, Punk should not be long before he returns. I mean, not this month. Probably not August, but perhaps All Out, perhaps Full Gear. I think it'll be one of those shows when he's back. I mean, Dave is tuned into AEW.
Yeah.
And so when he says something like this, look, some of us might think, I don't know when he's coming back. Revolution, the next Double or Nothing, we don't know.
Forbidden Door 2023, who knows?
Who knows? Yeah.
I had kind of assumed, with no evidence whatsoever, that when Punk wasn't going to vacate the title, that probably meant he wasn't going to be out for too long.
Yeah,
he's going to be out for a year.
Yeah, it made sense. Yeah.
Yeah, you should have him vacate the title, because it's kind of, an odd situation if you have an interim champion for an entire year. But if he's out for 3 months, all right, that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Match, yeah. Because, Mox is kind of one of the obvious opponents for him anyways.
Yeah.
And so it would make all the sense in the world for that to be the guy to carry the interim title. And then you have the easiest story done right there, title versus title, at All Out or whenever he's going to come back. But yeah, it would have been kind of weird if the idea was he was going to go past Full Gear and not come back, and that's and then there's still just an interim title out there. That'd be a little on the weird side. But yeah, it's interesting. It would not shock me if this was news that sort of percolated through AEW, made its way to Dave, and he's updating us here. Like I said, he usually has his finger on the pulse there with AEW for pretty obvious reasons.
Yeah. Yep. Let's talk about Goldberg now before we get to our G1 and Smackdown Rampage coverage. So, Goldberg was interviewed by the New York Post and talked about rehabbing his shoulder injury in hopes of returning for another bout.
Wow.
So Goldberg, who stated that he is still signed to a WWE deal, described his shoulder as, quote, absolutely destroyed over the past 4 or 5 years. But he hasn't had surgery because, quote, you never know when the phone's going to ring. He continued, I have worked my ass off day after day after day to get to a point where I feel almost normal again. I just kind of needed that break. I needed the mental focus of understanding that surgery wasn't an option at the time. I needed to put my ass to the grindstone. He continues, I'm still waiting for that call to happen one of these days. But I suppose you never retire in the wrestling world until you're dead, so who knows? Hey, I may never get the call. You never know. But you bet your ass I'll be ready.
Yeah.
Steve, do you want to see another Goldberg match?
So they're not very good.
No.
But playing devil's advocate, I'm taking Steve out of this because no. But
well, I'm asking you. I'm not asking you, interpreting the general mood of the wrestling world. I'm asking you.
Look, man.
I don't want you to take yourself out of it. I want your answer.
I don't think so. But the idea of seeing what they would do with Austin versus Goldberg. Because, dude, the Saudi government or WrestleMania, that match is going to happen. They're going to throw those old dudes so much money. Austin has to be happy with his performance at WrestleMania. He has to be. So he might be thinking, Bill, let's stink out the building. I know Austin has a lot of pride in what he can do. I thought that Goldberg and Lashley put on a good... Here's what I've sort of learned with Goldberg. If it's like a wrestling match, it's going to suck. If you carefully stage something like that, the match with him and Lashley, it can be entertaining. It could be entertaining because that was entertaining. I don't have a lot of faith that they can orchestrate something with him and a guy of Stone Cold's age. But that shit's going to happen. It's too much of a marquee match. Now both guys, they can go. Now that Austin can go, this is the dream match everybody wanted to see in 98. Now that it's 50 years later, it's probably going to happen.
Anymore.
But no, I kind of don't.
No interest.
Even being the big Stone Cold fan that I am, I didn't even really mark out that much for his match. I marked out more for the night 2 Austin stuff where he just came in and he had that horrible stunner on Vince because it looked like he was having a ton of fun. He was dropping everybody. I like that stuff with Austin. And I thought him and Owens had a fun enough match. It just, I don't know. I've always been the kind of guy where give me the people who are now. That's what I want to see people in their prime right now. I kind of appreciated that on Smackdown they were billing Theory versus Madcap as the future of wrestling match. I was like, they're thinking about that? That's cool. So there is that sort of train wreck like curiosity, like, would they do this? Would they do this? That I have. But do I want to see it? Probably not, man.
Absolutely not.
So. I don't think
Absolutely not. No. I mean, you're right. Whenever they book Goldberg in something that's a non-standard wrestling match, for example, the match against Lashley, I think that was Falls Count Anywhere, whatever it was. The match Goldberg and Lesnar had at WrestleMania 33. That was no holds barred or something like that. Where if he's just there with his opponent to cause kind of maximum destruction in the ringside area, it's fine because they keep short and they're not relying on any traditional wrestling moves or psychology to tell the story of the match. It's just, all right, these two competitors are going to destroy, and then whoever's left standing wins. In those instances, all right, fine, whatever. But in any sort of regular wrestling match, absolutely no interest.
I mean, I don't even... Here's the thing. Even if they were to do something that sort of focused on Goldberg just destroying stuff, it was a no DQ or the thing they did with Lashley, there's always that thing. The problem is there's always that thing in the back of your head. He's old. And when him and Lashley had their first match, I think it was at was it at Mania? No, was it at Mania? Was it at Mania?
It was.
No, it was like
Rumble.
Rumble sounds right. And And Goldberg was selling his knee or his leg or something.
Oh, yeah.
He did a good job selling. But in the back of my head, like, I'm here to be entertained, you know? And if I think this 56-year-old guy is like already hurting in the leg, like we saw legitimately in Saudi Arabia against The Undertaker when he clearly was concussed. That's right there. The Saudi Arabia match against Undertaker was my end point. I was like, I don't want to see it after that because I feel like he's going to get hurt. Like, and if he's not hurt, maybe he'll hurt his opponent.
Exactly.
Not
don't want to see that
on purpose, but on accident.
Don't want to see it.
And that kind of stuff, you know, you and I are both kind of like, you know, pearl clutchers in that case where it's like, oh, man,
I don't want to see somebody get hurt. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's wrestling. There's already enough of a chance to get hurt just by virtue of them trying to entertain us, you know, putting their bodies on the line.
Definitely.
When you put somebody in there who potentially wasn't the safest guy in his prime, and now 30 years later, we're expected to like, oh man, Goldberg, yeah, why is he's 56. Why is he still so overpowered the way he is?
I know.
It's just one of those weird wrestling things.
It really is the weird wrestling trope. The older you get, more powered up you are.
Yeah, which is bizarre. But it does have it has its appeal in some aspects of things.
Yeah. Let's take a quick break here, get a word from our sponsor, Athletic Greens. Steve.
Yes.
As you know, I'm always on the lookout for ways to get more energy and improve my gut health. And since I've been taking AG1 from Athletic Greens every morning, I've seen my gut health improve and my energy go way up.
Yeah, man. Athletic Greens is the one thing with the best things. AG1 has 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole foods sourced superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to support your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, sleep, mental clarity, and aging. Plus, it contains less than 1 gram of sugar and has no artificial anything, no gross chemicals, and no GMOs.
You know me, I'm a creature of habit and usually have a tough time working things into my usual routine, but I've had no problem working in AG1. I just make a serving before breakfast every morning. And AG1 can fit into your lifestyle, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free, and it costs less than $3 a day.
Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health.
To make it easy, Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/raw. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/raw to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. And now let's get a word from our sponsor, Bioptimizers. So, Steve,
Yeah.
Can you tell me why magnesium is so important?
I'll be honest, man. I don't really know a whole lot about magnesium.
You don't?
No, not really.
All right, well, here's something you should know. 75% of us don't get enough of it, even though it's involved in like 80% of our body's metabolic reactions.
Oh, my gosh.
And when you don't get enough magnesium, you can suffer from all sorts of ailments like poor sleep, low energy, and higher stress levels.
All that stuff kind of sounds like you, man.
I mean, that's true. I did suffer from bad sleep and low energy and high stress, but I've been taking Bioptimizer's Magnesium Breakthrough, and I've noticed that my sleep has been better, my stress levels have gone down, while my energy has gone up. Even if you've tried Magnesium Breakthrough before, you should try this new formula because it now includes cofactors like B6 and manganese to help with magnesium absorption. That makes it even more effective. And it's really easy to work into your routine. All you got to do is take 2 capsules before bed, and you'll be astonished how much better you sleep and how your mood and energy levels are improved the following day.
For an exclusive offer for Going In Raw listeners, go to magbreakthrough.com/raw and use code RAW during checkout to save 10% and to get free shipping. Again, go to magbreakthrough.com/raw and use code RAW during checkout to save 10% and get free shipping. All right, man, before we get back to the show, let's get a word in from our sponsor, Liquid IV. So as a lot of you know out there, Larson and I get together to play basketball every single week. And the one thing we've come to realize is that it's super easy to get dehydrated, especially during these hot summer months. It's like 102 out there right now, Larson.
Yeah, it's been really hot, really hot. And the last thing you want to do is suffer from the effects of dehydration because it just completely ruins your day. I know you could talk about that, Steve.
Man, last time I went out there without my liquid IV, the rest of the day I had a dehydration headache. It's gnarly because your body just doesn't have enough of what it needs. Doesn't have the hydration, Larson. And so like my whole day is basically shot after a couple hours of basketball.
Yeah, my wife started using Liquid IV several months ago, and I gave it a try during and then after our weekly basketball games, and I've noticed a huge difference as well. You know, I haven't felt as run down while we're playing, and then when we're done, I haven't noticed as much soreness the following day, probably because I'm doing a much better job staying hydrated.
That's right. So what I do is I take 1 stick of Liquid IV, I put it in one of my 16-ounce hydros of water, and I am good. Liquid IV hydrates you 2 times faster and more efficiently than water alone. And hey, guess what? You got your choice of 10 refreshing flavors. For example, they've got Concord Grape, Lemon Lime, Pina Colada, and Tropical Punch. I like the Tropical Punch, man. It reminds me of when I was a kid. I used to drink Hawaiian Punch all the time.
Yeah, well, the lemon lime flavor is really popular in the old Larson house. So grab your Liquid IV in bulk nationwide at Costco, or you can get 25% off when you go to liquidiv.com and use code RAW at checkout. That's 25% off anything you order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code RAW at liquidiv.com. You want to talk the G1, Steve?
Yeah, so this is great, man. So the month of August, we decided to do this thing where the predictions for Big Red here in July are going to culminate. We got Death Before Dishonor, and then we've yeah, the reflex there, huh?
Yeah, it really is. For 4 months, I could do that.
And then and then SummerSlam is going to be the last 2 events for predictions for July. Mm-hmm. Right now, I think you and I are tied, and Forcer's down by like a point or something like that.
3 points, down by 3 points.
And then, but for August, because there's like no big shows in August, we're doing it exclusively. Everything is G1, which means our predictions for August for Big Red starts in the month of July. So right now, after 2 nights of G1, we are all tied up, which I love. I love to see it because I want everybody to be tied up all the way till the end. Night 1, Kazuchika Okada defeated Jeff Cobb. Jay White defeated Sonata. And Hanare defeated Hiroshi Tanahashi in a shocker.
Yeah, Ospreay beat LP.
Okay, that was night 1 as well. Okay. So yeah, there's always early in the G1, I do remember there's always some big upset. I didn't realize it was going to be that big of an upset. Hanare beating Tanahashi, who by all accounts should go. I mean, he should last. He should be in it until the end.
Yeah, you think so? He is the ace. I thought there was a chance that Sonata could beat Jay White simply because in the G1, usually whoever beats the champ in the G1 will get a title shot before Wrestle Kingdom. And looking at that block, the B block, Sonata kind of made the most sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Didn't happen.
Yeah. We all picked Cobb to beat Okada. And by the way, a lot of our education for the G1, for good or bad, is informed by our G1 prediction video, which you can check out right now on our channel. There's a lot of G1 left to go. We're about to talk about night 2 here. There's a lot of G1 left, so you can still educate yourself on what's going on. We had Karen Peterson on the show for the first time, talking all things New Japan, and she was really cluing us into a lot of stuff heading into the G1. On night 2, we had Taichi defeating Ishii. I figured I went with Ishii on this one. I know you guys both went Taichi. Ishii has been a hell of an ambassador coming here to the States, brain busting everybody, doing a hell of a job for New Japan. So I thought he had a pretty good shot. He's always got a pretty good shot whenever you put him anywhere.
Oh, yeah. I went and looked at the results from last year, and Ishii got 10 points last year.
Oh, my God. Wow.
Yeah, he had a good year last year.
Yeah.
Then we had Zack Sabre Jr. defeating Kenta. Yano defeating Jonah. And then Juice Robinson defeated Shingo Takagi.
Yeah. Boy, Shingo.
I feel like that's Juice's huge win.
That's his crowning achievement right there. I sort of. So, I think it was, I don't know. I forget. Like, didn't we have Jonah and then Enforcer had Yano or something like that?
No, we all picked Jonah.
We all picked Jonah? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, in any event, whatever combinations we had, we all ended up tied at 8 points for the month of August in July, Larson.
In July, yes. August predictions begin in July.
Very going and raw way of doing things.
It really is. It really is. So let's talk SmackDown. I guess.
Oh, yeah, man. Jeff Jarrett. Awesome stuff. So the special guest referee for the
How does that make any sense other than he's from Tennessee?
Well, yeah, he's from Tennessee. Yeah, that makes sense.
But how does that make sense to the story that's being told? What are his bona fides as referee?
Director of personnel.
That's not even his job. He's director of live events.
Oh, yeah, director of live events. Whatever it is. Yeah, he's there. He's live. You know, you need a referee. Ain't he great?
He wasn't on SmackDown Friday live.
No, they had a great video package though. You know, yeah, I don't know.
I still wouldn't be surprised if they have Jeff Jarrett be the ref and then have Sami Zayn be the guest enforcer or something like that. Because he was, even during the main event, he was lobbying up until even after, I believe, Jeff was announced as special guest ref, lobbying for that position. So,
well, you know, the SmackDown did provide me with one incredibly feel-good moment, and that's when Sami Zayn was out there and he was jawing with the Street Profits, and they called him out. And who has his back? The Usos.
That was really
that was awesome. I just want one time where Sami gets to walk out with the entire bloodline, and I will be over the moon. I will be so over the moon. I hope he proves himself even in one moment that allows him to go out there before he messes it all up.
Oh yeah.
But dude, he's doing the dirty work there for the bloodline, man. I want Roman to acknowledge that. Yes. So we'll see if that happens. Otherwise, I mentioned this earlier during the whole Goldberg is super old talk. I love that commentary was building up this Theory versus Madcap Moss match as, you know, two guys, especially Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee knows what to outline. He knows what to highlight when it comes to any given match. And he especially was going hard on the idea that Theory versus Madcap Moss is a matchup that we may see over the next 5 to 10 years in the WWE.
Yeah.
Because I think he's right. I hope he's right. Madcap Moss is a hell of a talent.
Yeah.
I guess my only beef with that really is, don't they need to book Theory a little bit more strong for us to believe he has any chance of cashing in even on a fallen Brock Lesnar or Roman Reigns at SummerSlam?
Yeah. You know, but as we've seen in years past, winning Money in the Bank is not necessarily a guarantee that you're going to get a coherent push going forward. You know, we've seen numerous times where Mr. Money in the Bank, gets that briefcase and then is suddenly booked to lose a lot.
It hasn't been so. Last year, obviously, was Big E. The year before that Brock? Was that the Brock year?
That would have been 2020.
2020 was Otis.
That was Otis.
And then the year before that, I think, was Brock. So, I mean, I guess my thing about Theory, though, is he seems like the most. Like, I'm trying to go. I know that Seth was like 2014 or 2014, I guess.
Yeah.
And he cashed in 2015. But Theory obviously is loved by Vince.
Yes.
And when you think of a guy who I guess maybe has some parallels to like Edge when he first won it, to Seth Rollins when he won it, like I just sort of remember Seth being booked a little stronger, Edge being booked a little stronger, and Theory's being booked a lot more like Miz when he won it.
Or Damian Sandow.
Or Damian Sandow. And that to me, it's like, you can look at Damian Sandow back then and be like, I don't really see him being the face of like them thinking he's the face of the company. Miz always made me curious about that because he did main event WrestleMania with Cena that year. But Theory seems like a guy who, wouldn't they want him? I mean, they clearly see him as being a potential face of the company 5-10 years from now.
Yeah.
Like, shouldn't you be booking him a little bit stronger? I mean, it's not like he's Otis, you know?
Yeah. You'd think so, but you know, we've seen time and time again where someone wins Money in the Bank and then they lose.
Yeah.
Probably more than they should, because you think the idea is, all right, And I wonder if they try to rationalize it as in their opinion, it makes the opportunistic cash-in seem more shocking or
could be
opportunistic because they lose a lot. Like, they can't win a match, therefore they have to do the opportunistic cash-in.
It gets the adrenaline going a bit more. Like, this guy can't win shit, which is maybe there's some credibility, maybe there's some validity to that. I guess. I mean, when you think Big E, you're like, this is a big fella. He could beat people. You know, and then he cashes in, and it's like, well, he didn't need to cash in.
Well, he didn't need to do the opportunistic cash.
He didn't need to do, he didn't need to do that. He could have called a shot. But I mean, I guess he did on Twitter. I know, but he did it when Bobby Lashley was already beat up.
And it wasn't like, here, I'm going to cash in. I'm challenging Lashley to a championship bout. I'm going to cash in tonight, and then did it after a championship bout.
It was a bit of a heelish way to cash in.
Yeah, I know, and I don't feel like baby faces should do the opportunistic cash-in.
Yeah. Let's talk about this, the continuing saga of Lacey Evans. This just gets worse and worse.
She did seem more into what her character was on Friday as opposed to the week prior.
Resigned to the fact that...
Yeah, but I mean, there was a bit more energy to the promo as opposed to, hey, you're going to turn heel tonight. All right. Which is kind of the vibe I got the week prior.
Yeah, right.
At least at this point, she's had a week to process what I'm sure is news she didn't want to hear, the heel turn. And then, it's like, all right, well, this is what I got to do, so this is what I got to do.
It was a lot of talking, and it was preceded by a recap where they basically showed her entire promo from last week. So this is like a good 15 minutes straight of just Lacey Evans laying into people, and it was kind of redundant. Like what she said this week wasn't terribly different from what she said the previous week. And look, I'm happy for her because she's on TV, but man, you got to think, we were talking about this at breakfast this morning with the Enforcer. You got to think, man, when a wrestler is presented with an opportunity like she was to spill her guts out on TV, you got to be thinking to yourself, like, unlike where she was prior to her leaving to have a kid, where she was dating Ric Flair, it was a very sports entertainment angle. Yeah. And it was, I'm not going to say she was one-dimensional, but she was kind of a cartoonish villain. And now she comes back and they're like, hey, we're going to take a different route. You're going to do these really, really, truthful, genuine promos about you growing up. It's like this thing you did on Breaking Ground. And you got to be maybe thinking to yourself, if you're that wrestler in that position, okay, wow, this gives me something to really run with. This is going to be my big opportunity, my big moment to climb the ladder, to take it to that next level and settle on a character. Kind of like how they couldn't figure out Bayley and then they turned her heel and it was obvious they loved her. She does such great work as this iteration of Bayley, who, by the way, is supposed to be coming back at SummerSlam as well. I believe Fightful Select had that as well. So that's awesome. And then apparently Kevin Owens, there's also a report on Kevin Owens. He's supposed to be coming back. I think he was scheduled for something tonight for Raw. Ooh. Like a Kevin Owens show or something. But you got to figure, once you have the opportunity to do that, man, that you got to feel pretty good. But it's all contingent on you can be a good guy because it makes the most sense.
It makes the only sense.
Because in the world of fiction, in the world of good guys and bad guys, it's not really cool to tell a story of somebody who suffered neglect, abuse, this, that, the other, and then they turn out to be a scumbag. This is the land of people overcoming the odds. This is where heroes are made with those kind of backstories. Yeah, it's kind of fucked up to tell a story about somebody who suffered all this stuff, trauma, and now they're a scumbag. And that's got to be pretty defeating,
I would think so, because everything about those promos seemed to be setting up, massive babyface push.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And not just the substance of what she was talking about, the presentation of it.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
Was okay. You're gonna get a face run here with this new character, and then I don't know if Vince was like, well, she was such a good heel before. Let's just have her be heel again.
Dude,
I don't know.
His whims, man. It's his whims.
So, yeah, it was just kind of more of the same there. let's see. I guess we can just get into it. And if anything else kind of sticks out, we could talk about it. So the show opens with Michael Cole introducing arguably SmackDown's #1 face, Pat McAfee. So Pat comes to the ring. He drops a promo. He apologized to the WWE Universe because of his absence last week. It forced us all to have to listen to Corey Graves for 2 hours and bum-ass Corbin. He throws the video of Corbin attacking him after Money at the Bank. He says the best thing Corbin has ever done in WWE is celebrate Nakamura the way he deserves to be celebrated. And it turns out that Pat, just has a bruised neck. So he's able to come to the ring tonight and let us know that he says, I knew Baron Corbin long before the WWE Universe ever did. They were roommates during their rookie years with the Indianapolis Colts. And he said back then, Corbin was humble and he was hardworking. But as soon as he stepped foot in WWE, he became an insufferable douchebag. And at this point, he did mention the change. He says this show is still TV PG. It's not TV
14 yet, but he was a douchebag.
Yeah. And he says he's viewing it as my job to smack Corbin in the mouth, beat the hell out of him, and humble him back into being a good member of society. He says, I've been working out to smack the bad tattoos off him. And then Baron shows up on the Tron to interrupt. He says, I'm glad you're back, Pat. It says, with a shame, you're too stupid to stay in your own lane. You should get behind the announce table where you belong. He says, I'm a fighter while you, Pat, just run your mouth. He said, I would come out and finish the job right now, but I've seemingly contracted something sitting in your chair so close to WWE Universe. So he sticks his arms up, and there's red legions and stuff on him.
Everywhere.
Yeah. And he says, maybe it's monkeypox or something. He's saying, I'm staying far away for now. You'll see me at SummerSlam. And Pat says, I know that's not monkeypox. Corbin, you're allergic to being great. And says, anyways, let's move the show along. He introduces Liv Morgan. She has the first match for the evening.
Yeah. I thought they were going to go somewhere. Did Corbin ever show up again with his monkeypox? Yeah. Why did he show off a bunch like a nasty rash?
I don't know. It's 2 weeks in a row they've referenced. This last Friday, monkeypox. The week prior was COVID.
Is that? Yeah, that's weird.
It is strange.
Yeah, there's a joke somewhere, but I don't know what it is. After that, yeah, we had Liv Morgan versus Natalya.
Championship contender match.
Yeah, but in this case, Natalya couldn't even get past this match to get that match. So anyways, Liv Morgan wins this with Oblivion. It was a good match. They give it a lot of time.
Yeah.
And Natalya did not know-sell the finish, which was good to see.
Yes.
Of course, it's on TV, not a house show, so you can't do that.
No.
Afterwards, Liv Morgan had an interview. Caleb, being a bit snarky here, says, you weren't as dominant beating Natty as Ronda was. And she's like, oh, I know what you're saying. Yes, I know what you're insinuating. She's like, look, I'm aware I'm walking into SummerSlam the underdog, but I've been the underdog my whole life. So call me what you want, but at SummerSlam, you're going to still call her champ. That's going to be a huge win for Liv. Because, it's funny because I know Sean Ross Sapp made the point on Twitter. It's like, well, Liv went through a brutal ladder match prior to to cashing in. So that should say something. Like, it wasn't exactly like she was fresh and she cashed in.
Yeah.
But still, to beat Ronda Rousey straight up, it will be a big deal. If she loses to Ronda, if she loses that title, she's done. She is done, man.
So I didn't notice it watching it, but I saw some pictures on Twitter. I guess the last couple of weeks, she doesn't have personalized nameplates on her title yet.
Oh, no. Does it still say Ronda Rousey? It's just
it just has
logo,
generic WWE ones. Yeah.
Oh boy. Because that would be huge.
It would be massive.
Huge.
Massive.
If she loses to Ronda, I'm not saying she's done, but it's going to take a little bit to get back from that, right?
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah, I don't mean I don't know why they would do that. She should totally win the SummerSlam. Next, we had a Theory interview. He says, I know it's so hard to be me, but I'm making it happen. I got a lot of enemies on Raw and SmackDown, over on Raw, Lashley, Dolph, and then here on SmackDown. Before he continue, he's interrupted by Paul Heyman. And he tells Megan, the interviewer, just give us a moment. And so Heyman says, I know that you know that I know that you know that I'm responsible for the biggest break in your career. And I know that he does this quite a bit. This whole theory of you cashing at SummerSlam makes no business sense. Where's the box office in that? And what about the 15% who fail at the cash-in? What you want to do, Theory, is work with me, and we could schedule a title match at a major event. Think of the prestige, the box office, the money that's involved. All you gotta do is not cash in at SummerSlam and let me handle everything for you. And then Theory says, well, I'll either cash in a Roman or Brock and become youngest champ, and then maybe I'll need some advice when I'm champ. Maybe I'll get my own special counsel. Maybe I'll hire you.
Yeah. Heyman's, oh dear.
Yeah.
After that, the new brutal Viking Raiders come out. Oh, wait, nope. It's the New Day, and they're cosplaying.
Or the New Raid.
The New Raid. Yeah, it was pretty clever, actually. They're Eric the Gross and Ivar the Ugly. Woods can't get paid. Woods is not very good at accents, according to him, because he starts using a pirate voice, and Kofi has to call him out on that. They talk some shit about the Raiders, are interrupted by the actual new, more brutal, vicious Viking Raiders. They come to the ramp. They call them imposters, or the New Raid call the actual Raiders imposters. They tell the crowd to boo them. It was pretty funny stuff.
Yeah.
The Viking Raiders themselves aren't really having a lot of fun with this, though. It just doesn't feel like they're into this very much.
Especially when Eric has to start the promo by saying, "We are new and we are vicious."
I know. It's none of it.
No, it's no good.
They look cool. They do actually look cool.
Yeah. And they seem like they were talking more with their shoot voices as opposed to their Viking voices.
Ray Rose seemed like a different person. Because he wasn't doing this. He was talking like this. Hey, what's going on?
I can appreciate they were allowed to use their normal voices at least.
Yeah.
You think, if they're new and vicious, they'd really amp up the sports entertainment voices,
Yeah, right. Yeah. They should just come out with like blood spatter all over their faces. Like, what did they just do? They ate some whammies.
Like they just watched The Northman.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And then went to Vince with all these ideas.
Still haven't seen that. I need to see that movie.
It's an interesting film.
So anyways, Eric and Ivar come to the ring, and then out of nowhere, Shanky and Jinder attack them down there on the floor. Kofi and Woods takes them out with splashes to the floor. The New Day's music plays. Woods and Kofi start dancing. Shanky starts dancing. He's getting all up in Jinder's face, and Jinder just goes, maybe he's thinking to himself, maybe this dancing is pretty good. I want to know if he danced during this interview here before they left. Could they get Jinder to dance? Because he looked like he was on the verge of busting up with Shanky next to him doing all that dance and stuff.
Yeah.
It was pretty damn funny, man. I like that.
It was funny. Next we had a Ludwig and Gunther interview.
Oof.
So Gunther's asked why he attacked Ludwig, and he says, "I did it because there's no room for failure. They will never lose. Losing is unacceptable. Losing has consequences." And so Kayla says, well, Ludwig has another match against Nakamura next week. And then Ludwig starts to apologize for losing and is talking about next week. My German is not as good as it used to be, but I heard that. Mm-hmm. And so Gunther is yelling at him, unzip your jacket. Oof. Unzip it.
Oof.
Rips it open. Bang, chop.
It was nasty, too. It was nasty. Yeah, that was good stuff.
It was good.
Collapses to the floor. After that, we were supposed to have Aaliyah versus Lacey Evans. So Aaliyah comes out, then she suffers through a bunch of commercials. And then we get the longest recap of Lacey Evans from last week. They basically just added a music track, some filters, and then played the entire thing.
Well, then they added stuff from her earlier promos, too.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it was like a flashback within a flashback.
Yeah.
So she comes out, says, I may not be better than anyone in this arena. She says, but you damn sure ain't better than me. She says, like I explained last week, like we all just saw already. So I shouldn't have to explain this again, but I'm going to. She says, I served my country and put my life on the line for all of us. Like overcame obstacles that would crush the average American. Everything about my story is true. I'm an American hero. I'm prime example of everything they should be, but can't be. She says, I've offended a few people and they think the truth I gave them was too honest to handle, so I apologize to anybody I offended. The crowd boos. She says, if you're not going to accept my apology, and they're like, boo, no, you suck. And then she says, fine, go to hell. And she walks out of the ring. No match.
Doesn't get a match. No match.
No, I'm hoping that goes down as a win by forfeit for Aaliyah.
Bell never rang.
Well, God damn it then.
Then we had Drew McIntyre take on Ridge Holland. This match didn't last very long. Drew McIntyre gets the win. He hits an air raid crash on Ridge, followed the Claymore to get the win.
Yeah. Yeah. This was kind of funny, though. I appreciate that friggin' Butch. He tried to get the ring bell to bring it in to smash Drew with it, and Sheamus said no, and he took it away from him, and he put it on commentary desk, and Pete Dunne goes over there, picks up the hammer. Ding! Like a child. Like, you tell it, don't do that, don't do that. He goes over there. Ding!
Can't help himself.
And then Drew goes and annihilates Ridge Holland. I thought that shit was pretty damn funny, but
yeah, that is pretty
funny. All know what this is building to, man.
Yeah. Then we got a Madcap Moss interview. He's talking about how Theory's got a massive head and he's going to try to flatten it like a pancake. But then Heyman steps in and pretty much gives Moss the same kind of angle that he gave Theory.
Mm-hmm.
He again says, I know that you know that I know that you know that I gave you the biggest break in your career.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what Theory has in mind, and pretty much says, I saw the beating you gave Corbin. It kept him out for a few weeks. What if you did the same thing to Theory? And then I would give you an opportunity to talk to the tribal chief and get yourself a title match at a major event. It would make sense. It'd be the hugest match of your career. And so Moss listens, and then he just tells Heyman, it sounds like you're really worried about Theory cashing this SummerSlam, and then leaves.
Yeah.
He's got a match next.
Yeah.
Before that match, though, we got a Maximum Male Models video package, at the end of which we learned two things. Beach Collection, Maxine Dupree, debuting next week.
We also got a don't forget about the ankles bit again, which made me happy.
Yes, they showed that. You would think Ginny from NXT UK would make all the sense.
She's engaged or married to Gunther.
They're a couple, yeah.
They're a couple. So she's here in the States with him, you would think.
Mm-hmm.
Hasn't
but
been
like
seen
that was
in
her
UK
character has been for a long time, like a fashionista.
I know, but come on, man. Like, that's a great idea, but like it's nothing ever that makes sense. It's gonna be I don't know. I don't know. I could see them putting it on, just as likely they're going to put it on Shayna Baszler or something, ridiculous like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. Ginny's perfect. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Who else doesn't have, who's like on main roster doesn't have a gimmick? Or even rumored to be called up. Is there anybody who hasn't been called up? We haven't seen Raquel Rodriguez for a while.
Well, she was at Money in the Bank. That was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, that was a couple weeks ago, but she hasn't been there since.
Let's see, on SmackDown.
Dana Brooks involved in the 24/7 thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be perfect if it was Ginny, because he also said that he was traveling to Europe for those couple weeks a little while ago.
Mm-hmm.
Aaliyah was just on TV. That wouldn't really make sense.
Yeah. It makes all the sense for Ginny to be.
That'd be great. They have her there, but the thing is, does Vince know? Tiffany Stratton would be great.
Yeah.
That'd be good. She's already ready for prime time, dude.
Yeah, she is. So after that, we had Theory versus Madcap Moss down towards the end. Moss escapes A-Town down. Theory's looking for a rolling drop kick. Moss then just destroys him with a shoulder tackle. Theory rolls the apron. Moss hits him with another shoulder tackle, sends him to the floor. So Theory's climbing over the timekeeper area. Moss follows. Theory gets the Money in the Bank briefcase, hits Moss with it several times, gets DQ'd, and so he grabs the mic. After the ring announcer says Moss won via DQ, he says, no one cares that Moss won. I'm still Mr. Money in the Bank, soon to be new Undisputed Universal Champion. That's when Sami Zayn comes to the stage. And he says, did I hear that right? Did you say you're going to be next champ? And Theory says, yeah. And he says, when you say that, you're disrespecting the tribal chief. And when you disrespect the bloodline, there are consequences. So as a representative from the bloodline, as an honorary Uce, I recommend that you apologize right now. And so Theory says, when did you become, or are you the bloodline suck up? What are you going to do? Because Sammy's got his arm in a sling. And he says, what are you going to do with your arm in a sling? What are you going to do anyways? And so the Usos come to have Sammy's back. Theory backs down, back towards ringside. Moss gets some rams of the ring post, throws in the timekeeper area.
Yeah, so that's what it was. He was talking shit to Theory. Yeah, that was cool, man. I was really happy for Sammy in that moment.
Yeah, me too.
Oh man. Jimmy Uso versus Angelo Dawkins. They're still going on and on about the whole shoulder thing, and it came into play here in the match as well. So Dawkins hits Jimmy with Sky High to get the win here. Because earlier on, Jimmy accidentally laid out Lil Nate, although it didn't really look accidental. He just went right into him. Dawkins got the roll up.
Dawkins, Jimmy was charging and Dawkins ducked it.
Yeah, I know,
Jimmy
but it was one of those ducks that was timed not, so it seemed so accidental. Like he just ran and kept on running into him.
Yeah, it wasn't like Jimmy just ran into him. He basically shoulder tackled Little Nate.
Yeah, he had plenty of I guess my point is he had plenty of time to stop, but they had to do the
Yeah, you can make that point for sure.
So anyways, Jimmy hits super kick. There's no ref to count the pin though, so Dawkins hits Jimmy with Sky High. He does get the win, but Jimmy's shoulder was up. Pierce comes to the stage, says, "I understand you're upset about what happened to Money in the Bank, and the Usos are upset tonight, even though who cares, not a title match." He says, "Which is why we need a special ref at SummerSlam." So I like this idea here that okay, you guys are upset with the normal refs who do this every single day. So the odds are less likely that we're getting a guy who hasn't been a special guest ref in probably decades. I don't know the last time Jeff Jarrett refed a match.
I don't know either, but the odds would be actually, instead of using someone who does this on a daily basis, you get someone who maybe hasn't done this in 20 years with the thought that person will make fewer mistakes.
Right.
It doesn't make a lick of sense.
It doesn't make any sense at all.
It makes no sense. If you're going to get somebody to get a pop from us, go bring Mike Chioda back.
Yeah. John Cone.
Yeah.
Brian Hebner.
Okay. Yeah, sure. All right.
Impact.
No, I know who he is.
Yeah.
Bring back a legendary or famous referee.
Yeah, Brian Hebner.
Yeah. That would make more sense.
Who was the ref for the Queen of the Mountain match? Because that was really difficult to keep tabs on. I felt like they did a really good job.
Yeah,
that was probably Brian Hebner. Let's see here. I'm gonna Google this, see what comes up. It's just gonna be current news. I'm gonna see what's on the videos here. Videos. Let's see if there is. No. I was gonna see if there was a video that showed when the last time he was a special guest referee, but it's all just current stuff. He's doing the special guest referee thing.
Yeah. So, anyways, after that announcement, the Usos and the Street Profits brawl, and then a bunch of other refs come out to break it up.
Yep.
And a bunch of refs, all of them more qualified to referee this tag title match coming to SummerSlam than Jeff Jarrett.
Wouldn't it make much more sense for Pierce just to gather the refs? Say, okay,
ref by committee.
Danilo, you're going to be the ref for this match. You need to pay special attention, making sure the shoulders are on the mat. Okay, we want to make sure. That's how they, when in the NBA, when refs make a botch, I think they just get together and say, hey, we have a ref meeting.
Exactly.
We have to make sure we're paying attention to this these days.
Exactly. So
if
there's a ref bump, guess what? Another ref could step in right away.
Right. Yeah.
Ryan K. Lamb does have the best idea, Sid, as ref. Of course.
Well, he's done it before.
I know for sure he's done it before.
He's got experience.
Yep. Exactly. We also had a Rampage Friday night.
We sure did.
Fun enough show. A lot of setup for Death Before Dishonor coming up this Saturday, including Jonathan Gresham's opponent at said pay-per-view. Claudio is getting that title shot. I would think the odds are looking pretty good that Claudio is going to be the new Ring of Honor champion.
Well, what's kind of interesting, we talked about this also a bit over dinner. There's right now, I think, 5 matches scheduled.
Yeah.
And it's a $40 pay-per-view. It feels like when we had originally speculated, and I mean no disrespect towards Ring of Honor when I say this, because I've seen some people on Twitter sort of chirping about, could you imagine people talking about Ring of Honor being the NXT for AEW. Mm-hmm. Well, NXT at their prime was not just the minor leagues for WWE. Arguably, it was considered a proper third brand that was more dedicated to pure professional wrestling. Mm-hmm. Not seen as something smaller than, even though I understand the idea of the graduation, the call-up. I get that. But if the idea is Ring of Honor is going to have the most buzzworthy takeover, those old school Prime takeovers, if that's going to be the thing, then yeah, we're going to get, because I didn't know if it was going to be just Gresham going forward until there's another name on par, like a Moriarty, to take that title off him. It seems like he's going to load this shit up because Claudio's a big deal. He probably was not cheap because we know he was waiting, and he waited for the perfect time when everybody in AEW that was sort of on par with him name-wise got injured. Yeah. Then they had no choice to bring him in. So now he's going to be the guy leading the Ring of Honor because I think Claudio's going to win this. Gresham's had a really long, very impressive run, but Claudio's got to win this. Yeah.
You'd think so. I would be pretty surprised if Samoa Joe lost that TV title too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I agree.
This seems like, and it might very well help their case to get TV if they have. Major names attached as champions to get some sort of TV deal. I don't know what exactly. I mean, this is going to be on Bleacher Report on Saturday. Yeah, they announced AEW / Ring of Honor announced.
I mean, you got to figure doesn't Netflix have like a just a OVW thing coming up? I think you got to figure like TV is one thing, but streaming services will pay a premium for content these days. And if you could stack it with really buzzworthy events with, takeover Prime level events, maybe that'll really sweeten the deal for HBO Max or for Netflix or for whatever. And I mean, it does seem like that's the way they're going to go with names that are already known and then populate it on top of that with, some developmental. But otherwise, I don't know. There's a lot of great names out there on the independent scene. But this will give us our first glimpse into what we can expect, I guess, with Ring of Honor in terms of who they're going to put at the top and who they're going to put at the mid card, et cetera, et cetera.
It could also be a situation where they have like Claudio, Joe, and FTR as champs, and use them to not only sell the show to broadcast partners, but prospective fans as well.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Because they're major names that people will tune in to watch.
Yeah. Buy tickets
and
for
then,
them.
Yeah, and as the show itself, the brand, this reconstituted Ring of Honor develops, and as they develop more wrestlers under the Ring of Honor umbrella, it could be a situation where, we'll have Joe and Claudio, carry the brand for a bit, and then when the time is right with the wrestlers that we've developed, we can make the transition to more of what Ring of Honor might be going forward, long term. I wouldn't be surprised for the next year we have prominent names carry the pretty much all the Ring of Honor titles, and then once they get TV, they get a fan base, and if they're touring or whatever, they get good crowds. Then while you're having these major names hold the titles, you build up other wrestlers to eventually you build up Moriarty to eventually maybe be the person that takes the title off of Claudio,
Well, it's kind of like we had speculated this in the first place. Is the WWE for a spell had a really good deal with the NXT and the call-up. You saw Kevin Owens, Finn Balor, to a degree, Asuka to a degree, and they had a really good sort of run there, a very short-lived run, but a run nonetheless of a good transition from NXT to main roster. Now it's kind of shocking if they mention that somebody was an NXT champion.
I know.
NXT is sort of an afterthought if they're not pushing what's going on next week at the Great American Bash or whatever on TV, it's not even a premium live event. And I do wonder if that's where Tony Khan wants to go, is you can have these big names that are on par with what we're doing in AEW, but still at the same time, you build up those Moriartys, because when, for example, during this episode of Rampage, when Stokely Hathaway points out to Lee Moriarty, hey, you've had some big matches, but they've all been losses. It's like now we need to see him win. We need to see him build up, and not just on Darker Elevation, but we need to see the guy win so that you can actually build him to where he should be, not hanging out with Matt Sydal, by the way. Get him away from that dork. Which it seems like they're gonna, because you can't be taking somebody's business card and just rip it up in front of them. That's very rude. It's very rude behavior.
It is rude.
But yeah, it'll be very interesting to see which direction they're going to go. When Claudio came out, I was very, I'm not going to say I was surprised because I think I kind of called that, but I was happy that it happened because I think that's the way to go. And Tony Khan, he's the kind of guy who's like, well, I have them. Let's use them as much as we possibly can when it comes to the big. He's paying a lot of money. So if he wants to get a bunch of money for, from HBO Max, you got to put who you can front and center on this new promotion. Claudio's like the perfect guy to do that. And of course, Samoa Joe,
Yeah. Let's jump into Rampage here. Opened up with John Silver, Alex Reynolds taking on Malachi Black, Brody King. You all kind of knew who was going to win this match. And yes, indeed, it was House of Black. They hit that pop-up. Was Brody calls finisher Gonzo Bomb?
Fucking annihilate somebody's head is what it's called.
Yeah, no, it was on Reynolds. Got the win afterwards. Brody and Malachi are making the way up the ramp. Darby hits a splash off the top of the heel tunnel onto Brody. And as Brody and Darby are kind of brawling, Brody flings Darby down the ring. Malachi just kind of stands there and watches. Sting walks out of the face tunnel.
Yeah.
We have a bit of a stare down. They act like they're going to go walk through tunnels, and they come back and another stare down.
They're like, oh, both men don't want to give the other guy the satisfaction of making the first move, so they're just
sort of like
mirroring
when
each other.
yeah, exactly. So this will be fun. I mean, Sting and a feud with House of Black, that could be a good time.
Oh no, yeah, that's great. That's an appropriate feud for Malachi Black and the House of Black. That's great.
Yeah, I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Unfortunately, Sting and Darby Allin are going to get the
win,
last word in, but still, in the meantime, they'll get a couple of good wins. And I mean, we saw that great bit at the Rampage Rumble with Darby and what's his face and Brody.
Oh, Brody,
that was amazing. That's a great. No matter what, if Brody has nothing else, he's got that image of him just choking out that.
Oh, I know
that kid. Moment. He looks like a kid. He looks like a child, like trying to get him. I like Jericho.
Brody's
screaming.
Pretty huge.
He's a big dude.
Yeah,
and Jericho screaming. He's like a pit bull. The little spot with Darby.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was good stuff. After that we had a really cool Miro promo.
Oh, this was great.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and let you take this one, man.
All right.
You love
so
Miro.
He asked God if they made a deal with the devil to stop him since he got misted. He says, I could feel claws in my back pulling me down. Something is closing in around me and time is running out. Should I let the pagans take me? Or should I rip their heads off and tear out their spines?
Wow.
He says, I don't know anymore. All I know is that the darker it gets, the clearer I see you. So I ask you again, God, did you send the House of Black to destroy the Redeemer or to recruit him? Maybe the best promo in all of wrestling right now is Miro.
Oh, Miro's great. After that, we had Lee Moriarty versus Jonathan Gresham. This was the first match of Jonathan Gresham since he turned bad guy. And I like him wrestling as a bad guy. He's got that extra pep in his step, man.
And I like Caprice Coleman on commentary making a point early on saying, Jonathan Gresham, technical wrestler. He was the Ring of Honor Pure Champion for a long time, and that's a different set of rules. And some of his title defenses, Ring of Honor title defenses, like the one in Impact, was under pure rules. And in pure rules, there's no striking to the face.
Yeah.
And Caprice was pretty much saying, Jonathan Gresham does not have a strong chin. And they worked that into the match where Lee was punching him all he could in the face.
Yeah.
And every time Gresham got punched in the face, he'd really sell it. Anyway, so later on in the match, Gresham takes some tape off his wrist, throws it to the mat. So the ref goes and picks it up. And Gresham fakes like he's about to chop Lee. Instead, he hits him in his front area.
Yeah.
And not like a punch, not a low blow, just with like a flick of the finger. Yeah. It was pretty great. Yeah. So he's the advantage for a while. He eventually locks on an octopus to get the win. And then Tony Schiavone comes to the ring, interviews Gresham and Tully. Gresham says Tony is a true fan of this great sport. And he says, we're going to see my face on TNT, on AEW every week, because I'm going to come to the ring and outclass and out-wrestle your favorites, because I'm the best wrestler. And Tully says, what you saw tonight was a textbook class in scientific wrestling, and Gresham is the best today, maybe the best ever. And then that brings Claudio out.
Yeah, man. Even his promo, Gresham's promo as a bad guy, so much more compelling. There are certain people who's just, man, they need to be bad. They need to be a bad guy. You know, it's just they have so much more fun.
Indeed, they do.
After that, we had a Christopher Daniels promo. So apparently that eye deal is permanent, dude.
Like really?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just apparently his vision's fine. I looked this up because I'm like, how's the dude still have his eyeball still red? Because it's been ages. It's been a long time. And I looked it up, and apparently it said it's here to stay. And all it is there was so much of a hemorrhage there in his eye that it turned the whites of his eye red, which is a hell of an effect. But
it really is.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah,
especially for someone who maybe at one point had a kind of like a supernatural type gimmick.
I know, it looks really nice. You can go back to that Fallen Angel stuff. Remember that one news report where he showed up at some backyard wrestling?
Mm-hmm.
I gotta see if I can find that somewhere.
I remember when we were leaving Starcast, the one in Chicago, when he pulls his car up into the parking lot so he can unload his booth or pack it up.
Wrestlers doing pedestrian things is one of the best things. It's so entertaining. Yeah,
it really is.
Anyways, Daniel says, as somebody who's wrestled Samoa Joe countless times, he says, I have to applaud Jay Lethal and Sanjay Dutt because the best time to talk tough is when Joe isn't even in the building. He says, but I can tell them that as one of Joe's best friends, I can tell Jay and Dutt that Joe's going to teach them one more lesson on how to get choked out. He says, but if Jay keeps putting Joe's name in his mouth, maybe I'll slap it out.
Yep.
The eye sees everything.
Then we get Chris Statlander and Athena taking on Robin and Charlotte Renegade. Short match. Athena gets the win after hitting O-face. Layla Gray gets up on the apron. At this point, Statlander's on the floor, so she stands up on the apron next to Layla, throws her into the ring. Her and Athena are punching her, set up for a Doomsday Code Breaker, which they hit earlier. It was awesome. Kiera Hogan, Jade Cargill run down the ring, and they pretty quickly and easily take out Statlander and Athena.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm not sure. Like, Athena's like one of my favorite actual wrestlers.
Oh, she's so good.
The character stuff is so goofy, though. I feel like she needs to be like just ice cold badass or something. I don't know. She's too friendly. Be less friendly. Less, less, hey, I'm happy and everything. Because god damn, she's such a good wrestler.
She's a fantastic wrestler. Fantastic.
The O-Face is a terrible name for a move, though.
Yeah. Like the Eclipse is really good.
What's her, the Fallen, what is it?
Goddess,
yeah. That's a great name. It's a great nickname. Mm-hmm. But then you counter that with, a euphemism for orgasm.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
After that, we had a Lee Moriarty interview. He's instantly interrupted by Stokely. I'm like, yeah, that should be your manager, not Dorcas next to you, because Seidel's right there.
Yeah.
And he says, hey, how long you been in AEW? He says, don't you think you should be doing more? He says, I do. He says, what is Matt Seidel going to do for you? And Matt's standing right there. He's like, oh. He's like, and he takes the business card out of Lee Moriarty's hand. And he's like, this is what I'm going to do with your business card. And he rips it up. And he's like, Lee, I've got an opportunity of a lifetime for you next week. He's like, yeah? He's like, what is it? He's like, you're going to wrestle Dante Martin. What?
Yeah.
That's not really. Like, Brian Danielson has an opportunity of a lifetime. He did that.
Yeah.
He's already wrestled a lot of opportunity. Like, what? Sting. Have him wrestle Sting.
Yeah. Get him a title shot.
I feel like Dante Martin is sort of like a normal opportunity.
Yeah.
Opportunity of the week.
Yeah. Not quite lifetime. That'll be a great match, though. It'll be an awesome battle.
No, it'll be terrific.
Then we got a Gun Club interview, and Billy takes the mic first. Says, I understand why everybody's upset. I'm upset. Everybody loves the Acclaimed. I love them. I treated them like they were my own kids. In fact, I treated them better than my own kids. But there comes a time when Daddy Ass has to drop the hammer. Mm-hmm. So the Acclaimed come to the ring. Billy says, whoa, hold on. I know how we can settle this. I know everyone in the building wants to see this one last time, then we can go our separate ways. And he says, scissor me.
Yeah.
And so instead, Bowen super kicks him. Ooh. And then the Acclaimed send the ass boys out of the ring. Caster grabs the mic, calls Billy an ass, said he's hung like a tadpole, and says the ass boys, more like Dumb and Dumber, come back and fight us, you mother.
Whoa. Bowen says, whoa, you can't do that. Yeah. He's like, come on, crowd. You want to see us beat the ass boys right now? Austin grabs the mic and says, "No deal."
Says nope.
Nope. After that, we had our main event, Private Party versus Lucha Brothers. We had one of those interviews beforehand. Andrade says, "I'm a busy man." He says, "I believe that Private Party and Private Party is like, hey, we tried to get a hold of you. We can't rely on you." He says, "but we can rely on our talent." So there's some discord there within the remnants of the AFO.
Oh, yes.
And then Pentagon says, how quickly you forget, Andrade, the culture of Lucha Libre. And he also calls him basura, which is a piece of trash. He calls him garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Penta says, "You're garbage." Penta says, "You're trash." We had Private Party versus Lucha Brothers. This was awesome. Of course, Lucha Brothers get the win here, but all sorts of shit's going on. We had Alex and Jose and stuff going on. Andrade's on the apron. He gets kicked off. Yeah. Roosh runs to the ring, messes with Penta, shoves him into Mark Quinn. Penta hits Mark Quinn with a destroyer, tags in Phoenix. He gets his finish in for the win. But it was a wildly fun match.
It was. It really was. We got a Raw tonight. So far, 2 things announced on WWE.com. Bianca Belair and Carmella meet in a Raw Women's title rematch. Isn't this their 3rd title match?
Oh, probably. I love Carmella, though. I think she's great. I think Bianca Belair is great. So
yeah, they're both great.
Keep on running it back, man. Remember Bianca Belair had that endless feud with Doudrop? Every week, another match. Those were cool, though, because Bianca Belair would just pick her up. And it was like nothing beats Bianca Belair picking up Otis.
I know. Yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was so good.
Also, Steve, get excited for this. Logan Paul comes calling for The Miz on Raw.
Is he going to be on
I
Miz
know you're
TV?
huge. I hope not. I know you're a huge Logan Paul in WWE fan.
I am. I think in WWE, I can stand him. I'm cool with him. I'm fine with that. I'm fine.
As long
with
as it's not Miz TV.
I hope it's not on Miz TV.
I know.
Yeah. Anyways, over there on Friendo Club TV, we're going to be answering the questions you left on our Twitter thread. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate it. Until next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Stone Cold Steve Austin impersonator Phil McDonald, here to tell you to go support Going In Raw on Friendo Club at patreon.com/Steven Larson. They got bonus episodes, ad-free audio, a weekly newsletter rounding up the week in wrestling news, and a bunch more. Patreon.com/Steven Larson. Go support or get hit with a stunner.